Welcome back to the Home Stretch podcast. I have had my hair done, so if you're seeing this on YouTube right now, we've got some highlights going through here, and just in time for the English summer, which we're in the peak of it right now. It is so hot in England, like so hot. But anyways, back to the topic of today's episode. I'm going to be deep diving into everything to do with new builds, including missing warranties and missing certificates, and just generally what to expect when you are going through the house buying process when a new build is involved. Now, just for a little bit of clarity, my situation might be a bit different to quite a few people because rewinding a little bit further back, we didn't move into a new build, our sellers did. And our sellers moved into a new build where the property developer was building 9 properties and it was his first ever project. So this wasn't a massive, huge new build company. This was a brand new guy on the scene of building houses. So I think we were just very unlucky in a sense of he just didn't have the certificates, which you should have when you're building buildings and homes. But anyways, that is the kind of story. We didn't move into a new build exactly, but because we were quite close talking to the sellers throughout the whole process, we know a lot of information. So if you are moving into a new build or your sellers are moving into a new build, then this is probably the episode for you. You'll definitely learn a thing or two, which I wish we knew earlier in the process. So, the hidden pitfalls of new builds. Now, on the outside, they look beautiful and nice and new. And everything's very shiny, everything's very modern. It's like a brand new house built just for you, and you move into there and everything's great. The only thing is with new builds is that you don't see what else has gone on with the building of the building in detail. So you obviously don't know what goes on behind the scenes of what it takes to actually build a house from scratch. Things are very different in the house buying process for when you buy an older house. Like our house was 1988 or 1989, maybe even 1992 actually, but it was like late 80s, early 90s. Our house is going to be very different in the house buying process compared to someone that's moving into a new build. They're going to have different regulations, different certificates. Solicitors are keeping an eye on different things. Now, when we told our solicitor, our sellers were moving into a new build, immediately, he said, that is a huge red flag and be prepared for some delays. And we said to him, no, surely not, because moving into a new build means there's no chain. That means surely the process should be quicker. And he was like, I've had quite a lot of experiences with new builds. They've not been good. And he was right. Unfortunately, he was right. But we still moved in. The sellers still moved in, even though there was months and months worth of delays in terms of the new build and the property developer side. And some that I'll go into today to share my story. So hopefully something in here can help you too. And by the end of the episode, you should know exactly what documents the property developer or the new build company should be giving to the solicitor, whether that's yours or your seller's solicitor, how long things generally take to come through, some red flags that you need to look out for early on, and how to avoid getting caught out by these lovely developers that just keep popping up left, right and centre. Some do it correctly, guys. I'm not saying that every property developer is the same. I think we were just super and severely unlucky with the one that we had because main pieces of information was missing to the point where the seller solicitor said they weren't going to carry on with the process unless he got these documents ready. And because he put the documents through that went to the council, that timeline got taken off of his hands. So everyone was in limbo and not knowing what is going on. We actually thought he was a cowboy builder and we thought he was just going to run and chuck and just whatever. The fact that our sellers were cash buyers meant that they didn't have to go through the mortgage application and the lender application and stuff like that. So in our minds, we thought, he's got a better chance of getting away with whatever he could potentially get away with. Luckily, that was not the case, and the documents got, provided, which was fab, but it was quite a few months later. So let's dive straight into today's episode, and I hope you like it. So in terms of the certificates and the warranties and documents and things like that, there was two main documents that was stopping us from completing before Christmas last year. Now, we thought we were going to be moved in before Christmas and we weren't. Me and Nathan, we were ready literally in November, and the property developer didn't give these documents until beginning of February this year. So there was like 3 months worth of delays due to this property developer, and to the point where like his solicitor and our seller's solicitor were going backwards and forwards and answering queries and inquiries really strangely. It was a little bit odd, I'm not going to lie, but anyways, things got sorted. But in general, there was two documents that was stopping us from completing. The first was Buildings Regulations Certificate, and the second was a Build Zone Warranty. So let's start with the Build Zone Warranty, about what it is, why you need it, and why it ties into your house buying journey. So this is something that we never actually heard of before this process. And to be honest, we didn't hear a lot of things before we started this process, especially when it comes to new builds. You know, their terminology is a bit different, they need different things, and it was all a little bit confusing. We were doing a lot of research, being like, what is a build zone warranty, what is a buildings regulation certificate, and that sort of thing. But basically, a build zone warranty is a type of structural warranty, so quite similar to an NHBC. So that stands for National House Building Council, which is one of the providers that is used in the UK. So basically, a new build will be warranted this warranty that lasts up to 10 years, I think, and it basically protects you if there's kind of structural things that weren't built properly in the home, so you can live in it for up to 10 years, and if something is wrong, then that kind of covers you. It's kind of like insurance type of thing, sort of similar. So without this kind of warranty, if structural things was going wrong with the house within those 10 years, you would be liable for paying them, basically. So you need a build zone warranty for your new build to cover you, because if something wasn't built correctly, you need to make sure that like that's covered, because that's not your fault. If the roof is caving in within 2 years, that is not your fault. It's a brand new house, it shouldn't be doing that. So even though our sellers were cash buyers, if you were getting a mortgage on a new build, this is something that a mortgage lender would definitely want to see, because they want to make sure that it is covered in some way, that if the property gets damaged or is like the structure has been breaking or something, they need to know that the money they're lending you is going to be covered, you know? So with the build zone warranty, now the new build the sellers were moving into was build complete last July, so July 2024. And we were now in November 2024 and there was no build zone warranty. And it's like, if it's been built complete for months and months and months, why are you not putting in the build zone warranty certificate information? Like, it just didn't make sense to us at all. And this gets put down to the developer, because they're the ones that have to put in the form to actually get this build zone warranty back. So it's in their hands that they have to proactively go out and fill this form in or whatever. But generally, if the house has been built complete, it shouldn't take longer than 2 to 4 weeks for this to come through, because they would need to submit the application, someone would come out and inspect the house, make sure that it's like okay, and then being confirmed and signed off. It really shouldn't have taken that long. So that was really fun. So if I was you and you're moving into a new build, I would ask these questions to your solicitor. Very, very important. Like, please ask these, because your solicitor should really have an understanding on how new builds work. And definitely before you even speak to your solicitor or choose your solicitor, ask them if they've worked with new builds before, if you know that you want a new build, because it's really good to have a solicitor that has worked on new builds in the past, because they can have issues and they'll know what to do when there's delays in certain things, and they can give advice on, well, I had a client and this happened with them, but this was the outcome, and, you know, they'll have more experience. So I think definitely having a solicitor that has previous experiences with new builds is very good if you are definitely wanting a new build. So questions to ask your solicitor. Number one is, has the build zone warranty been issued yet? So if your new build has been build complete, ask your solicitor to speak to their solicitor. Have they got a build zone warranty for that house? Because the earlier you ask this, the better. The seller solicitor for our personal case didn't ask for this stuff until like December. So why did you not ask for it when we were right at the start of the process back in August? You know, everything got signed off in terms of like when we put our offer in and stuff, early August. Why didn't you ask then? August, September, October, November, December. 5 months. 5 months that she could have asked. And it's like, maybe she just didn't have any experience with new builds, obviously, I don't think. But yeah, it should have been asked earlier. So definitely ask your solicitor as early as possible, because then that causes more delays if the property developer is like, ooh, what do I do? Obviously, he hasn't provided those details up front. So if, you know, he's not been asked until later down the line and he doesn't know about it, which maybe he just didn't, then what's he supposed to do? So another thing to speak to your solicitor about is to get the provider of the build zone warranty. So it could be build zone or it could be NHBC. And then you can actually call these providers directly and ask them when was it applied for and if it's even been applied. So if there is loads of delays with the property developer and they're saying, oh, it's been like put through, we're just waiting to hear back. If it's taken ages, you can call up these providers directly, which is actually what our sellers did in the end, and ask them if it's been submitted, because the property developer could be having your leg and just be telling you porcupines. So if you really want to know, you can call up and you can get that information. But yeah, the bottom line is without a build zone warranty, you cannot continue with your house purchase or process. Like, your solicitor just won't let you. That is so important with a new build, that, you know, it has to cover the house. Otherwise, like, legally, you're liable to think loads of things that could go wrong, could cost you thousands and thousands. Like, your solicitor would never want you to go into a house purchase like that and not have that warranty covering you. They just wouldn't. So ask the question early about build zone warranty and whether it's been issued or not, or if it's in the process, because obviously our seller's solicitor didn't and it led to longer delays. So don't be like us. So the second thing that caused extra delays and the property developer did not have within our circumstances was a buildings regulations certificate. This took forever to come through. Oh my God. It was completely missing. And the property developer just didn't have an answer. It was the weirdest thing. That's why we thought he was a cowboy builder, honestly. It caused huge delays and our sellers were getting so frustrated. They had a really good relationship with the property developer before, whereas like after all of these delays and missing documents and certificates, they were like, what is going on? Like, this is getting a little bit weird. And they were going to pull out of the sale. And so glad they didn't, because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to have our house. So everything has worked out for the best. However, it's not a document that should be missing when you're selling 9 properties. So basically, a buildings regulations certificate is something that is issued either by the local council, which is within their building council department, or it can be done by an actual independent provider. So people can outsource it independently as well. But I think most new build companies and things just go to like the council to get it done. But a private approved inspector does complete it a lot quicker. So I think that's what our property developer did in the end, because if you go through the council, it can take a lot longer, but a private inspector will do it quicker, but it's more expensive. So what their job is to make sure that the building has been built to a legal safety and construction standards. So think about things like insulation, drainage, fire safety, structural stability, ventilation. There's so much more. It basically covers loads of grounds, and it needs to be given to a solicitor who is got clients that are buying that house. Like, it's just, you need it. So if there is a property developer or a company, a new build company, trying to sell a house without this, then you legally can't confirm that the building has been built to like comply with safety standards. And solicitors really should refuse any completion on a property with, like, if they don't have that certificate. And again, if you're getting a mortgage out, mortgage lenders probably will not release the funds unless they have that certificate. So I don't know what our property developer thought when he was going through all of that jazz with our sellers, but yeah, eventually he did provide the buildings regulation certificate, but like a good 3 months later. I thought it was never going to arrive, but it did. What can delay things as well is that the actual checking and the inspecting of the house might actually find issues like during the inspections. That could delay things as well. There might be incomplete, drawings or paperwork. So if they said the door was going to be placed over there and the door was actually placed over there, that could be an issue too. Like even as far as like where the fence is in a garden, like even front or back, or where a window is placed and things like that, like there has to be the exact same as the drawings that they applied for compared to at the end, So again, ask your solicitor earlier on, have they provided a buildings regulation certificate, or are they in the process? Are they doing it privately, or are they going through the council? Like, what is going on? Just knowing these pieces of information earlier on would have helped us out so much. Just to know a little bit about what they actually are, how long they should really be taking, and things that you can do to help kind of like speed the process up, because there is always things you can do. And what you'll want to make sure is as well that it's been completely signed off and completed and not just inspected. So obviously your solicitor will know what to do, but they'll get the actual completed form to say that it's been signed off and ticked off, and not just saying that it's been inspected type thing. So a few reasons why you might not have had this document and red flags to look out for as well is either A, the inspection hasn't even been carried out yet, B, the builder or property developer hasn't submitted the correct documents, or C, there's unresolved issues with the property that have not been signed off and the builder or property developer isn't telling you them, which, yeah, they don't have to. And what it might come down to is the property developer then fixing issues as and when, so maybe changing something or whatever they need to do, and that might be causing the delay, but they're not going to say to you, oh, this was an issue, that was an issue, that sort of thing. I don't know if legally they have to tell you that, or where you can even find the inspection before that maybe issues cropped up. So you're going to have a look at that yourself, because I'm not too sure, but yeah, generally that might be an issue as to why it's being delayed. So a few other certificates when it comes to new builds that you'll want to either ask for or like make sure that isn't missing. Gas safety certificate. Obviously your gas and appliances and stuff are going to be fitted in the new build in your new house. It basically confirms that they've been safely installed. And also an electrical installation certificate, so same sort of thing but with electric. So if the builder has put in brand new doors and windows, which probably they will, then they need to provide an I think it's FENSA. Hopefully I've got that right. But it's basically a certificate to show that they meet the standards of actually putting in the windows and the doors. So complicated, new builds, aren't they? There's so much to them. A building control completion certificate, such a tongue twister. So this is basically the official sign off. Confirms like all the legal work has been done, everything's been ticked off, everything meets legal standards, that sort of thing. So it's basically like the all-in-one tick, yes, ready to like go. And without that, you can't say that your house is fully compliant with like safety and things like that. So that is very, very important. An EPC, so all homes have those, I think, pretty sure. It's how like the energy is performing in the house basically, and shows how efficient your home is. So like how it conserves like heat and things like that, I think, insulation and things like that. And also water and sewage like certificates, or I think they're called adoption certificates, I think. And they basically show the local kind of authority that's dealing with the drainage and the water systems and stuff like that. And any one of those documents can stop you from completing. And I've probably missed some as well, but those are just like some of the main ones off the top of my head. But if you are going through the process right now, speak to your solicitor and, they will know exactly what documents you need for a new build. And they'll definitely help like squeezing these out of the property developer. Because at the end of the day, they want to sell this house as much as you want to buy it and move into it, right? So they're going to hopefully do everything they can to speed the process along. Now, I have heard of people pulling out of things when it's around new builds because it can sometimes be a bit dodgy, and things can like delays can take a long time, and things haven't been provided, so people have just generally pulled out. We obviously really trusted this property developer, and obviously it pulled through and everything was fine in the end, but we did have to wait for 3 months. So you have to kind of be prepared if you're in a chain and someone's moving into a new build, or you are, that there might be delays. It's just part and parcel of a new build, I think. It can be with any house, like any house, there can be delays. But I think especially with new builds, there can be. However, in saying that, you have to understand that our situation is quite different to like the big new build companies, whereas their systems are probably really smooth and they probably know exactly what to do and exactly what documents to have, and you probably can move in like really, really quick. But because our property developer was so brand new, I think he just didn't really know how to handle the situation and missed out on real vital pieces of information to sell these houses, which in turn led to more delays. But, you know, he's probably learnt from it, and hopefully if he was to do this again, he has learnt a few lessons himself. So everything happens for a reason. And, you know, I think this was supposed to happen, which is fine. So a few key points is communication is so key when it comes to stuff like this. So if you are speaking to your property developer, that's amazing. Keep that communication line free because it helps so much. Our sellers did have quite good relations with the property developer and were calling quite often and speaking and things like that. So if there was something that they needed to chase in terms of their, you know, solicitors, they would. And, you know, that communication line was vital to knowing like where everyone stood and what was going on, because obviously you can't talk to their solicitor to be like, hello, have you got this document? You have to leave that to your solicitor to do, which is annoying, but like, you know, it is what it is. Otherwise they would be hounded 24/7. It would not be great. But yeah, I think another main point for me is ask your solicitor like what they think general timelines would be. And, you know, they'll probably help give you rough estimations, but it will depend on if it's a new build company that's been doing it for years and years and years, or if it's a brand new property developer. If it is, please do everything that I've said in this video and speak to your solicitor and get some advice, because it led to like 3 months worth of delays, and some people need to move in quicker than that. And luckily, we were living with parents and we were able to stay with them and not be kicked out of our rental place or whatever. So we were super, super lucky and super fortunate. A lot of people that, you know, don't have that and have to move out because of other reasons. So definitely ask those questions earlier on. Then you can set realistic kind of time frames in your mind and realistic expectations, and not be like us, like very sad when it takes 3 months to get 2 like documents that should have been ready months ago. So yeah, buying a new build can be exciting. Please don't let this episode put you off buying a new build, because they are amazing and they're very modern, they're very fresh, they're very clean. It can sometimes obviously come with hidden stressors, but so can everything. So don't take this whole episode as me just kind of moaning about stuff. It's more of like how you can use things that's happened in our experiences to your advantage, and things to ask early on, just to save you months and months of delays like what happened to us. That's the only reason I'm doing this episode right now, just so you don't fall into that trap too. So yeah, hopefully you have learned something in this episode all about new builds and sometimes the hassles that come with new builds. But just ask the right questions to your solicitor, get the right time frames, have good communication lines with, you know, the property developer or builder, and hopefully that should make the process very smooth and very amazing for you. Please leave me a comment if this was somewhat useful for you. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time.